after one of the largest restaurant chains in America decided to ban genetically modified organisms from its menu in 2015. The hot topic of GMOs is back on the world stage. Welcome to WatchMojo.News, the weekly series where we break down news stories that might be on your radar. In this installment, we're counting down 10 crucial facts you should know about genetically modified foods. Number 10. What are GMOs? The acronym GMO stands for Genetically Modified Organisms, whereby a microorganism, plant, or animal has been genetically altered using advanced genetic engineering techniques, such as genome editing. Humankind has been using a form of genetic modification since 12,000 BC in the form of selective breeding and the domestication of plants and animals. By cultivating organisms with certain desired traits, generation after generation of farmers was able to breed selectively superior products. Furthermore, in the 20th century, scientists started using bacteria or microscopic gold particles to insert new genetic material into foods. The flavor saver, a genetically modified tomato, was the first genetically modified food item approved for humans to eat. Given a license from the United States Food and Drug Administration in 1994, the tomato was more resistant to rotting and ripened slowly. Its production eventually ceased in 1997, with research revealing that the public's opinion towards genetically engineered crops changed during the years. Number 9. How were GMOs created? The dawn of the genetically modified organism followed the creation of the first recombinant DNA molecules by American biochemist Paul Berg in 1972. Recombinant DNA is created by combining one piece of DNA with another, creating a modified sequence that would not otherwise occur in nature. In order to genetically modify an organism, scientists use a variety of mechanisms, including mutation, insertion, or the deletion of genes within the organism. Furthermore, the process by which this can occur is by the transformation of the genetic material of the organism or by the editing of the genome by using artificially engineered nucleuses. In 1992, China became the first country to formally commercialize transgenics with the launch of a virus-resistant tobacco plant. Number 8. Who manufactures GMOs? There are 6 pesticide and GMO corporations that own and control the world's seeds, pesticides, and biotechnology industries. These big 6 are BASF, Bayer, DuPont, Dow Chemical Company, Monsanto, and Syngenta. Out of these half a dozen corporations, Monsanto became the world's largest conventional seed company in 2005. Founded in 1901 in St. Louis, Missouri by John Francis Queeny, Monsanto evolved from selling food additives like artificial sweeteners to being a leader in the evolution of agriculture and an ever-present government agency lobbyist. And with nearly $15 billion in annual revenue, Monsanto is also a leading producer of genetically modified crop seeds and herbicides. Number 7. What are GMOs in? Following the approval of the commercial growth of several genetically modified crops by the U.S. in 1996, the amount of surface area attributed to these crops has increased 100-fold. The most prevalent types of GM crops grown in the United States are corn, soybean, cotton, canola, papaya, sugar beets, and alfalfa. These crops are used in a variety of different ways. For example, cotton is used not only to yield cotton, but also cottonseed, which is used as a cooking oil, in margarine, shortening, and to fry foods. Furthermore, according to the Center for Food Safety, 3/4 of all processed foods contain genetically modified ingredients, such as crackers, cookies, chips, etc. As of 2015, over 90% of all soybean, cotton, and corn acreage in the United States is being used to grow genetically modified crops. Number 6. What are the benefits of using GMOs? The purpose of genetically modified organisms is to create a distinct advantage for the producer or the consumer that would otherwise not occur in nature. These advantages can appear in the form of lower prices and bigger produce advantages, such as durability and nutritional value. GMO crop growers benefit from the seeds as their crops have a higher resistance to pests, plant diseases, and herbicides, thereby allowing for a higher volume of crops. Consumers could soon profit from GMOs in a whole new way, as seed producers have begun selling products with health and taste benefits. Companies like Pioneer and Monsanto are producing soybean oils that are free of trans fats and enriched with omega-3 fatty acids. Furthermore, you will soon be able to eat apples that won't go brown and potatoes that won't bruise or go brown, as the Arctic apple and J.R. Simplot Company's innate potatoes will soon be released on the market. Number 5. Are GMOs safe to consume? The safety debate surrounding genetically modified organisms is extremely polarizing, as scientists and activists heartily disagree on the topic. In the United States, the Food and Drug Administration has never safety tested genetically engineered food. They've decided that it's up to the biotech producers to determine the safety of the product. On the other hand, large groups of activists collectively view GMOs as nothing more than frankenfoods, with the potential to cause environmental and health problems. The implications are that genetically modified organisms could cause allergic reactions in humans, and therefore must be tested prior to market release. That being said, according to the American Association for the Advancement of Science, crop improvement that uses genetically modifying techniques is safe. Number 4. Do GMOs affect the environment? A major cause for concern for farmers is the spread of altered genes from modified crops to traditionally farmed crops through airborne pollen. This would directly affect them, as many countries worldwide ban or highly regulate the import of GMO products. One featured benefit of genetically modified crops is that they are highly resistant to pests and therefore do not need to be sprayed with pesticides as often. Unfortunately, this has led to an increase of secondary pests, thereby leading to an increase of insecticide use, negating the original benefit. Another argument against GMOs is that the use of agrochemicals has an unintended impact on the environment and biodiversity. This argument is supported by a multitude of reports which show that the use or increased use of agrochemicals leads to a decline in dependent populations, such as milkweed and monarch butterflies. As it stands, there are a multitude of concerns regarding the environment and the uncharted spread of genetically modified crops. Number 3. Who controls the GMOs? There is widespread controversy surrounding the patent ownership and production of seeds. The genetically modified seed market is valued at nearly $15 billion, making it an extremely profitable and valuable industry. One way biotech giant Monsanto controls its business is through its herbicide-resistant seeds. For example, their soybean seeds are resistant to the herbicide Roundup, a Monsanto product, making them highly valuable as they lead to larger crops and higher sales of Roundup. In addition, Monsanto typically requires farmers who purchase their products to sign a contract promising not to harvest the seeds from the resulting crop, thereby ensuring continued business. As of 2007, the 10 biggest seed companies controlled over 65% of all seeds by proprietary or intellectual property laws concerning the seeds. Number 2. Where are GMOs banned? One company leading the way is Whole Foods, an American food supermarket chain which requires its providers to be GMO-free or GMO-labeled by 2018. In April 2015, the American fast food chain Chipotle announced that they would only use products from non-genetically modified organisms in their food. Chipotle is the first major restaurant chain to start identifying GMOs on their menu, as demand for GMO-free products continues to grow. That being said, product offerings will not be completely GMO-free, as Chipotle will continue to sell soft drinks with corn sweeteners and GMO grain-fed meat. Yet this is not limited to restaurants, because as of January 2015, member states of the European Union can now decide to opt out of GMOs and can now restrict or completely ban the production of GMOs within their country. This is in addition to the many countries worldwide which have an import or production ban on GMOs, such as Norway, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. Number 1. Should GMOs be labeled? The European Union is among the toughest regions, as it not only requires the labeling of GMOs, but also the traceability of every step of the production and supply chain. This is in sharp contrast to the United States, which, as of November 2014, had only 3 states pass a law requiring food be labeled GMO. though only Vermont's labeling law has actually been slated to go into effect at a concrete date in 2016. According to DuPont spokesperson Jane Sluzark, the American chemical giant believes that labeling would not only be costly, but also confusing to the consumer. Chemical, agricultural, and large food companies have spent over $100 million on anti-GMO labeling campaigns in a handful of American states where there were ballot initiatives on GMO labeling. As of 2013, 64 nations had enacted mandatory labeling laws on genetically modified food. Yet, as of May 2015, the United States and Canada have no such laws. Finally, as world hunger increases, only time will tell what the effect GMOs have on humans and the environment. Did these facts surprise you? To vote for which news story is covered next, head over to WatchMojo.com/suggest and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more newsworthy top 10s published every week.